We want to take you now back to the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, where CBS News International reporter Aidan Stretch is speaking to Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy after Moscow launched some significant strikes on the capital. Let's listen in.
Тому йому потрібно все це. І він боїться хаосу. Показати йому потрібно м'язів на полі бою у нього немає. І він показує ось такими кроками. Ось що відбувається. Треба розуміти, що може бути ескалація, чіткі поставки, військовим робити свою роботу.
So right now, they're telling us that Mr. President's telling us that Putin's in a weak position and that he needs to be stronger.
Mr. President.
Ви знаєте, ми за справедливий мир, справедливе закінчення війни, а поки його немає, за справедливий війни.
Будь ласка, запитання англійською з CBS News. We've heard you ask repeatedly for more ballistic defenses from the United States. You said yesterday that nearly half of the missiles used were ballistic missiles. Have you received a response from the United States for those asks?
No, we are thankful for the program call. Thankful to European team. They paid for this and they paid already. And now we have some packages of Pearl. Yeah, and with Europe and Canada and other partners. And we are thankful to American team for transfer of these missiles. But for today, it's too slow. Be honest, too slow. Of course, I count on the meeting with American team during closest days. We will see what will be. We don't know what Putin will do and how will be all the plans of our meetings and etc. But what the most important, and of course, we're asking President Trump, his team, yes, Russia. That's only one thing, and we don't need too much words. You see what does it mean when the packages come to Ukraine slowly. This is a big problem because these people lost not only their apartments. This is a problem to lose your home, your house. They lost their children, their families, their life. And I think this is the problem, not the problem how to push missiles quicker. They have to work. I'm so sorry. I understand that there are a lot of internal questions in the United States, and I know in Europe, in all Europe, United States, a lot of different countries live from elections to elections, very understandable. But please, the priority is to save lives, Ukrainian lives.
When was the last time that you heard from Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, or another member of the president's team? And do you expect them to re-engage with negotiations soon?
Yesterday was a conversation between, I think, Umerov and Kushner. Yes, and the day before yesterday, and etc. So, they said weeks or I don't know, maybe months ago that they will come to Ukraine. They have to come to see, to understand, and to explain to President, and then to answer in a very polite manner how Steve Witkoff can to Russia what they have to do. Quickly sit, negotiate, stop this war. And that's why we wanted them to come to us as, I think, quite long period of time. So I hope that they will come. Yes, and I understand that there are challenges in the Middle East. As I said, we are thankful for their position, that they want to help and etc. But we need more than words.
Mr. President, would you say that Ukraine is winning this war?
Ukraine, Russia is losing. Ukrainians will win this war, and I'm sure. And but to win is, it's such difficult question. If the question is fight many years to win or to stop tomorrow this war, all our people me, of course, we will choose stop the war. That's why we're asking. That's why we're asking our partners more pressure on Putin. Stop this war because he is not winning, because he is losing. At the end of the days, he will lose everything. That's why it's also in his interest. Between us, I'm not thinking about his interests. It's, yeah, okay.
Дякую дуже.
All right, Aidan Stretch there, our correspondent in Kyiv, speaking there directly with President Volodymyr Zelenskyy in Kyiv there. You saw Aidan in real time asking President Volodymyr Zelenskyy some very key questions, including whether or not President Zelenskyy had heard from the special envoys, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, or any member of the Trump administration. And if you're just joining us now, Aidan is reporting live from Kyiv in the wake of those devastating strikes by Russia on the Ukrainian capital. What else did Zelenskyy have to say to you, Aidan?
Well, I think one thing that struck me and struck all of us here is that he kept motioning as he was speaking to the apartment behind him. He's, of course, I was asking him diplomatic questions, and he said those are far less important than what you can do if you're an American or you're anybody else, and you come here and you see the life lost and the destruction in the wake of these attacks. The other thing that he said is that he continues to request defenses against ballistic missiles. Nearly half of the missiles used last night, there were 74 of them. Nearly half of them were ballistic missiles, and Ukraine does not have a reliable defense against those, except for Patriot air defense interceptors, which are only manufactured in the United States and a handful of other countries. And he's saying he needs more.
All right, Aidan, really appreciate you bringing us that, and excellent reporting. I know it is not easy in those situations to get your question in. You were able to keep President Zelenskyy for quite some time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Aidan, excellent job, and I think
Thanks
Aidan,
very much, Kelly.
Yeah,
Thanks, Vlad.
that was excellent reporting by Aidan Stretch there in Kyiv. And Kelly, the thing that struck me is in listening to President Zelenskyy, 2 points. One, he alluded to the fact that whilst he is thankful for the support that the United States and Canada and the countries who have been supporting Ukraine's 3-year effort to try and at least end this war, if not outright defeat the Russian military, is that we live in a world of election cycles. Mm-hmm. And those election cycles mean that for the American people, and by that very nature, our elected officials, that their attentions can vary from cycle to cycle, from month to month, from quarter to quarter, depending on what's happening economically. And for the Ukrainians, they don't have the luxury of thinking about an election or thinking about the midterms or even 2028. They're in this every single day. The other thing that I thought was interesting is the Ukrainians have been launching missile strikes into Russia. The idea being that perhaps the Russian people will have enough economic and military pain inflicted on them that they pressure Vladimir Putin to end the war. Mm-hmm. But in that scenario, it feels that Putin is in a more stable position than perhaps Zelenskyy is.
And look, what I'm about to say might be an unpopular statement, that while we are obviously touched by the devastation, there's another part of this where, you know, these countries, the U.S. included, have to consider whether continuing to support for years, sending more and more, that perhaps it's more about the negotiations versus pouring more money and more resources. It is, you know, caught between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. But the president has been very clear, it is America first. And that is something that he has led with. And so, you know, you hear President Zelenskyy ask for those weapons, for the money, for the ability to fight back against Russia. And I can imagine some of those conversations may be hard of how do you keep going there if there isn't meaningful movement. And that's why you expect those negotiations to be perhaps where they can achieve something.
And what's clear is that whilst the president has lauded his connection, his relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin, that has not borne any fruit here in trying to end this war. All right, again, Aidan Stretch reporting from Kyiv. Those are live pictures you're seeing there of President Zelenskyy touring the damage after devastating Russian strikes overnight in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. Aidan is still on the ground. I'm sure he'll be reporting all throughout the day here on CBS News 24/7.